Hello, my name is Jose Pons, and this is the installation and maintenance guide video for the VIP website version 6.0. The topics we'll cover in this video are the development environment installation, so that you can develop. You can set up your development environment on your machine, your laptop or desktop. Running Selenium tests. These are some automated tests that we developed in the 6th version of this project, and you probably want to run them whenever you make major changes or before you deploy to production or the development website. Another topic would be adding JavaScript or CSS files to the website. There is a process that was also added in this version that will combine and minimize all the JavaScript and CSS files to reduce the number of requests from the browser to get all the JavaScript files. And this changes the way you would normally add a JavaScript file to your project. So you cannot just add a script tag, for example, in the index.html file. Anyways, we'll cover that. And production installation, which is exactly the same as pretty similar to the development environment installation. Main changes being the configuration, because in the production environment we have HTTPS setup and certificates. And finally, the certificate renewal process. As of right now, there is an automated process to renew the certificate every 90 days, I believe they expire. So every month it's going to try to renew the certificate, and if it does renew it, because it needed to renew them, then it will copy the new certificates to the appropriate folder and restart the web server so that it starts using the new certificates. As I said before, the first thing we'll go over is the development environment installation. Main thing here is there are certain things that you should have already installed in your development environment, so your laptop or desktop, whatever. For main things being Node.js. You can probably just Google this and land in the download page for Node.js. Download the one appropriate for your operating system, install it. Next will be MongoDB. Same idea, Google, download, shouldn't be too hard. Next you want Git or some Git client. Again, you can get that for Windows or Linux, or it shouldn't be too hard for you to install yourself. Finally, I recommend you use an IDE, an integrated development environment, because it makes everything a lot easier. From development all the way to running the automated tests that we have, the Selenium tests. So the one I use is IntelliJ from JetBrains. You can pick whatever you want. Anything from Eclipse to NetBeans would do what you need. It doesn't have to be anything specific. So that's it for the prerequisites. Then you are ready to clone the Git repository for the VIP website. You should be given one by your product manager or whoever is in charge of the senior project at that time, which as of this time is Masood Sajjadi. If you don't know where your repository is, you should ask him. Clone it. So after that, you can just run either the install.sh file if you're on Linux, script if you're on Linux or Mac. If you're on Windows, just run the install.bat. As you can see, all these does, if you're familiar with Node.js, is it does an npm install in 2 specific folders where we have node modules that require it. After that, you should go ahead and configure your environment. First off, open the server.js file, go all the way to the top and change the host to localhost and the protocol to HTTP. It should be set to that, but just be sure that it is. So go in and check it. Next, we're going to go to the configuration file. This holds most of the configuration for your local environment, and port should be 3000. Same for external port. This should be pointing to your Mongo, which in most cases is going to be in your local environment. Make sure that it's actually running. Just because you installed it, it doesn't mean it's running. And the default port for Mongo will be 27017. So this is what your database connection string will look like normally. Secure, set it to false, because this should only be true when you have the certificates to serve. So you can go to HTTPS. So it will only be true in the case of our dev and production environments, not your local development environment, but the servers. After that, you should be ready to simply run the application, and it will just listen in port 3000. So I should be able to click run now. And there, VIP website. That's enough to have your development environment running. Just for the record, more details on the topics covered by these videos is available in the final documentation, more specifically in the installation and maintenance section of the final documentation for the VIP website project version 6. The next topic is how to run the Selenium tests, or maybe even add new tests. These were written by using Selenium WebDriver, more specifically the Firefox plugin. So you're going to have to install the Firefox plugin before you can run these tests. You can go to this URL right here and follow the instructions. You can just use your IDE of choice to open the project. Note this is a Maven project. Most Java IDEs have support for it, not to say all. It's located under tests, Selenium tests. This will be your pom.xml. Then you can just open it in your IDE. The tests are under the tests package. As you see, they're identified by the story they're testing. We created tests for stories in release 4 and 5 of the VIP website. We didn't have time to create tests for our own for release 6. You should be able then to just run them with your IDE by doing something like right-click, run tests. That's it. By the way, these are the unit tests. That's why it's simple to run them in any IDE, basically. Now I'll go over how the JavaScript and CSS files are combined and minimized into a single file each, and what that means to you. For example, when you're adding a new JavaScript or CSS file, you can no longer just go into the index.html file and add new script or style tags. So if you see here, there's only there's one remote one, which is using a link, where all the local ones are combined into this distrib styles.css file. And in the case of JavaScript, distrib scripts.js. This will be the folder. These are automatically generated whenever the server is started, and they're generated by this file right here, gopfile.js, which is under code deployment folder. You look at it, it contains an array of all the JavaScripts that will be added to this distrib script.js file, and same thing for CSS, an array. So when you add new JavaScript or CSS files, besides putting it in the features folder like all the others, you will have to add the path to them to these arrays, so that they're actually included in the scripts that are in the distrib folder, which are the ones that the browser actually gets. Now for the most important topic of this video, I'm going to show you how to deploy the application to the production or the development server. The first step in deploying the application is copying the application over to the server you're going to deploy it onto. To make that faster, you probably want to delete the following folders, because they are going to be regenerated in some steps later. So this delete. Once the folders have been deleted, Now you can go ahead and copy the code folder to the remote machine. For that, you can, if you're on Windows, you can use WinSCP. I'll do this on the dev server. You should be using your own credentials for this. Now you browse all the way to the /var/www folder. This is the currently deployed code. Note the name is VIP-final. This folder name has to be kept. If you want, you can back this one up so you don't lose it. And you would just, for example, rename it to .back. So you can go back to it if something goes wrong. Create a new folder with the same exact name, even casing. This is important. And copy over all the code from your machine, whatever you have it. In my case, it happens to be on my desktop. Code folder, copy, or just drag and drop into the VIP final folder. This may take a couple of minutes to finish. After it's done, you can just close WinSCP. You're not gonna need it anymore. And we're gonna SSH into the remote machine so that we can configure and run the code. We're gonna use PuTTY. If you're on Windows, if you're on Linux or Mac, you can just normally SSH into the machine. Again, you should be using your own credentials for this. So log in here, go to the folder. So now we should stop the server that was running before. Once you're in the code folder, you can run the install script. So make it executable first. Run it. It takes a couple of seconds to execute. Once it's done, you can now configure the website before you run it. And actually before that, we also want to copy over the certificate files. So just there are a couple of those in that folder, and you want to copy them to the code folder. And now the next. And the final one. Now we can finally configure the server before we run it. So starting with the config file, use your editor of choice. I'm using Emacs because I'm used to it. You can use anything you want. Here you want the external port to be the HTTPS port. You want secure to be set to true instead of false. And you want to make sure that the database connection string is set to localhost 27017 because the MongoDB is in the same server. Save that. Now to the next file, which is the auth.js in the same folder. you want to make sure that the callback URL points to the right server. We also need to change something in the server.js file. The host, we want to set it to the right one, in this case the dev server, and the protocol, we want to set it to HTTPS. Save, again, close. Now we can start a web server by simply doing sudo forever should now be running. You can make sure that it is by going to your browser server and make sure it's on HTTPS. One more thing you want to verify is that you can go to the login and use Google Authentication. If that works, then you're most likely correctly configured and deployed. The last topic on this video is the certificate renewal process. This is referring to the HTTPS certificates that we have on the VIP dev server and in the production server. So the way it works is these certificates that we got last for 90 days at a time. After that, well, actually before that, you need to renew the certificate. So we set it up as a cron job in each of the servers, so in the VIP dev and production server, that runs monthly, and if at that time it can renew the certificate, then it also copies the new certificates over to the server, and it restarts the server so that it starts using the new certificate. That's the high level overview. There is also a batch script, a bash, actually, as in Linux bash script, that is the one actually doing the work, so restarting the server, trying to renew the certificate and all that. That is deployed in the /var/www folder, if you want to look at it. Just if you keep in mind, if you want to know more about this, it's all in the final documentation, in the installation and maintenance part, as well as how to get new certificates or renew the certificate manually if there's a need for that at some point, or change the cron job that we have right now. You can find out more about those topics in the VIP Release 6 final documentation in the installation and maintenance section of it. Thank you for watching.